Hi, 1 Hour Smart Home here, and today we've got all three Sonos soundbars here, the Sonos Arc, the Sonos Playbar, and the Sonos Beam up front. So we're going to compare the Sonos Arc versus the Sonos Beam and the Sonos Playbar. Now, the Sonos Playbar was the original Sonos soundbar that came out. The Sonos Beam then came out, and the latest and greatest Sonos soundbar is the Sonos Arc. So the Sonos Arc and the Sonos Beam have a lot in common, while the Sonos Playbar doesn't have some of the same features that the Sonos Arc and Sonos Beam have. So first off, let's go through what speakers each one of these has. So the Sonos Beam has the fewest speakers, and it is the smallest speaker currently in this lineup. You get 4 woofers and 1 tweeter. The Sonos Playbar has 6 woofers and 3 tweeters. The Sonos Arc has 8 woofers and 3 tweeters. However, there is a fundamental difference in how the Sonos Arc speakers are positioned compared to the Sonos Playbar or the Sonos Beam. So the Sonos Beam and the Sonos Playbar primarily have forward-facing speakers, and they've got some speakers on the ends that have a slight tilt to them. The Sonos Arc has both forward-facing speakers and speakers on the very ends that are directionally positioned horizontally out from the ends of the speakers. But what makes it more unique is that the Sonos Arc also has speakers positioned on the top of the device, and those are designed for Dolby Atmos 3D surround sound. Neither the Playbar or the Sonos Beam have speakers positioned on the top of them. That is a feature only available in the Sonos Arc. Now, the Sonos Playbar and the Sonos Beam are both surround sound compatible, and they can be paired with other Sonos speakers to create a surround sound system. The Sonos Arc is also surround sound compatible, but it's the only one with Dolby Atmos sound, which is 3D sound where the sound is encoded to be in a particular location. So with Dolby Atmos, that surround sound can be positioned so it will be 2.5 feet behind your head and 5 feet up, or 4 feet away and to the right of you and 3 feet up. Whereas the Sonos Playbar and the Sonos Beam do not have Dolby Atmos, they just have standard 5.1 surround sound capability, where the sound is directed to a particular channel with the surround sound setup rather than a particular location. So you could add a set of Sonos Ones to the Sonos Arc, you could add a set of Sonos Ones to the Playbar, or you could add a set of Sonos Ones to the Beam. Now, there are other Sonos surround sound speakers that will work in these configurations, and if you want to learn more about that, I recommend you look in the links below. We've got a video that shows you exactly how to set up a Sonos surround sound system and the different configurations. Now, another big difference which the Sonos Arc and the Sonos Beam both have, but the Sonos Playbar does not have, is that both the Sonos Arc and the Sonos Beam have HDMI connections, and they also have voice assistants, Alexa or Google Home built in that you can install on either the Sonos Arc or the Sonos Beam. And you can choose which voice assistant you want to have installed at any given time. So you can have the Alexa voice assistant installed on the Sonos Arc or the Google Home voice assistant installed on the Sonos Arc. And you can do the same with the Sonos Beam. You can have Google Voice Assistant or Amazon Alexa Voice Assistant so that you can control either one of these playbars with voice commands, or you can control other smart home devices using voice commands because they have Alexa and Google Home built in. Now, the Sonos Playbar is compatible with Amazon Alexa. However, it does not have a smart voice assistant built in like the Sonos Arc or Sonos Beam. And I do think that is a nice feature, but if you don't like smart voice assistants and you don't want to have it on your device, you just don't install the voice assistant, and it gives you that option in the Sonos app. Or you can mute the voice assistants by pressing the mute button on either one of these speakers. Now, as far as streaming audio, all of these will work on the Sonos app and provide great quality sound. The Sonos Arc, Playbar, and Sonos Beam all have amazing sound quality, And at lower listening levels, you're not going to notice that much of a difference between any one of these three soundbars. Where you notice the most difference between these is when you have the audio turned way up or you're watching a surround sound movie. And in that case, the Sonos Arc takes the cake with the best surround sound and the best music quality because it's got the most speakers. Now, as far as ranking these in terms of sound quality, the Sonos Arc is in the first position, the Sonos Playbar is number 2, and the Sonos Beam is number 3. However, the Sonos Beam is still a very capable soundbar, and it has most of the features that the Sonos Arc does. It just doesn't have that Dolby Atmos surround sound, but it still has 5.1 surround sound, just like the Sonos Playbar, but you get the voice assistance in the Sonos Beam, where you don't get that in the Sonos Playbar. You also get a couple more speakers in the Sonos Playbar than you have in the Sonos Beam. But the audio quality at normal listening levels isn't that big of a difference for the Playbar and the Sonos Beam when I've compared these two. Now, there is a big difference in larger rooms when you're using the Sonos Arc compared to the Sonos Playbar or the Sonos Beam, whether you're listening to music or a movie, and that's because these top-facing speakers really do help bounce sound around the room with the Sonos Arc, so that is a big difference there. Now, one disadvantage of the Sonos Playbar is that it does not have an HDMI input. It only has an optical in. So you can get HDMI to optical adapters for this, but that does not have native HDMI CEC control like the Sonos Arc and the Sonos Beam, which both support HDMI CEC two-way communication with their HDMI ports. The Sonos Arc and Sonos Beam are also AirPlay and HomeKit compatible. The Sonos Playbar does not have native AirPlay capability and is not compatible with HomeKit, unless you have another Sonos device in your network that is AirPlay and HomeKit compatible, and then it will transfer that AirPlay over to this speaker. So both the Sonos Arc and the Sonos Beam are HomeKit and AirPlay compatible. The Sonos Playbar can be compatible if you have another Sonos device in your network that has AirPlay compatibility. So let's go ahead and do a sound test of the Sonos Arc versus Sonos Beam and Sonos Playbar so we can see how each one of these sounds. We'll start with the Sonos Beam first, and we'll set it to 40% volume. We'll keep both of the speakers at 40% volume and the microphone 1 foot away. Now we'll sound test the Sonos Arc at 40% volume, just like we did the sound test with the Sonos Beam. Now we'll sound test the Sonos Playbar at 40% volume with the microphone 1 foot away. So if you're trying to make a decision on the Sonos TV soundbars that will all work with your TV and surround sound configurations or allow you to stream music, the Sonos Arc is the top of the line for Sonos. It is the only one with Dolby Atmos surround sound, and it has the most speakers and voice assistants, Alexa and Google built in. The Sonos Playbar is surround sound capable, but it does not have Dolby Atmos 3D surround sound like the Sonos Arc does. Now, it has more speakers than the Beam, but 2 fewer speakers than the Sonos Arc. The Sonos Playbar does not have HDMI port, it has an optical in, so that might be a consideration as well. The Sonos Playbar also does not have voice assistance built in, and it is not AirPlay compatible. The Sonos Beam has the fewest speakers at 4 woofers and 1 tweeter. However, it does have both Alexa and Google Home voice assistants built in, and it does have an HDMI CEC port. It is also surround sound capable with 5.1 surround sound. However, it does not have Dolby Atmos like the Sonos Arc does. So I hope you enjoyed this video on our comparison of the Sonos Arc versus Beam versus Playbar. Please give us that thumbs up, subscribe, and click any of the links below if you want to support us.